Too late. Note what he says. For just as you presented your members as slaves of uncleanness and lawlessness, leading to more lawlessness, so now present your members as slaves of righteousness for holiness. Beloved, here's something I highly encourage you to do now. Somewhere, somehow, sometime during the day, you have a time alone with God. Okay, it could be in the morning, it could be at noon, it could be at night. You have a time with God so that you are building habits of righteousness. And you're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. You are building this character. Do not allow your schedule, and I know it's busy, to crowd this out. Because you'll get stronger and stronger. The realities of Christ and of prayer and of holiness and of goodness becomes more and more real to you as you build these characters of righteousness. You hear what I'm saying now? Each time there's a stronger cable that's connected. Every time you pray, every time you look into His Word, every time you're concerned about somebody other than yourself, you are building this holiness. This is what he is saying too. Contrary. Note what he says here. He says, verse 20, for when you were slaves of sin, you were free in regard to righteousness. In other words, you didn't have anything to do with it really. What fruit did you have then in the things of which you are now ashamed? Do you look back on things that you've done that you're ashamed of? All of us. I know I have. What fruit did you have then when you walked in unrighteousness? Well, some things I'm ashamed of. For the end of those things is death. Now, what do we mean by death? Always means separation of some form. When the body dies, the soul separates from the body. When there's spiritual death, you're separated from God. But let me say that this death can be very real on a human level, because when you sin against one another, you're separating yourselves. Whether it be family, spouse, neighbors, workers, whatever, you're separating yourselves through this sin, because sin will bring that separation. So what does he say? What fruit did you have then in the things of which you are now ashamed? What fruit did you have? You had death. For the end of those things is death. You look back on past relationships that you destroy because of your sin. But now, here's the contrast, and here's the good news. But now, having been, follow verse 22, but now having been set free from sin, now you are given a second lease on life through Jesus Christ, having become slaves of God. Paul now brings this to a crescendo. You have your fruit to holiness, and the end, everlasting life. What a beautiful statement. There are times in which you look back on things for shame because of our own sin, but now I am different. Now I'm a slave of God. Now I have fruit to holiness. Now I don't say the things, do the thing, think the things I used to do. And the end is holiness and everlasting life. What a contrast, amen? Sin, death, hell, grace, righteousness, heaven. See, there it is. And he's making this contrast. Don't miss that. It's a beautiful statement. Because he says, for the wages of sin is death. And he summarizes now, but the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord. So he brings the whole argument in conclusion to verse 23. For the wages of sin is death. Sin has a wage. But the gift of God is eternal life. Submit yourself now freely, wholly, consistently to your new owner. You're a slave to God now. You're a slave to righteousness now. You're a slave to holiness and eternal life. No longer are you bound to live in unrighteousness and death and destruction and misery. People end their lives because they're so enslaved to sin. It has been said, there's always an advertised price for sin. This is a good point now. There's always an advertised price for sin, but that price is always lower than the actual price it carries. Amen? Let me repeat. There's always an advertised price for sin, but that price is always lower than the actual price it carries. Here's my one-sentence summary of everything that I've said. Present yourselves to God, not to sin. Amen? There it is. God bless you. Let's pray.